Tonight, the Premier Sim Racing Winter Series wraps up its 5-race season at a very wet and damp Lime Rock Park. Welcome everybody to Green Flag TV and our coverage of the Premier Sim Racing Winter Series. I am Derrick Watson next to Finicini with Dustin Ollis pushing the buttons, making us look and sound good here in the booth. Well, Finn, we're wrapping up this season of mostly free content, little kind of light-hearted, sillier races with a very wet and damp Lime Rock Park.
I would say not a bad way to end a kind of fun, I would say almost a fun run of a series, but definitely one that is going to be one they're going to be excited to get back into some more proper racing, I assume, as the year gets underway. Seems like it happens a lot for a few number of leagues that I know of that have kind of a off season or in between the regular seasons, have a little bit of fun on iRacing.
Yeah, that's silly fun. You see here on your screen, we started off back in December, the Pro 2 lights at Rutskogan. We've been to the Charlotte Oval with the Indy cars, Bristol with the mini stocks. And 2 weeks ago, maybe my personal favorite, the FIA cross cars at the Phoenix Raceway, the Rally Cross version of the Phoenix Raceway. So tonight, Lime Rock wraps it up here on the season. We'll take a look real quick. There is a point standings to look at real quick here, and right now it's a pretty sizable lead for Elliott White, 12 points ahead after his dominance in the cross cars over Mark Kalin. Bradley Holly is 1 point back from that, and then Reese Bogue, Ted Lowendick, all those guys with 18 points. So still a title up for grabs, Finn. And these guys, I don't know how much they're racing for points. They're just racing to survive here with these GR86s in the wet.
I would say the time for getting points, I think, has come to a close. The time for surviving throughout the heat and feature races we have coming up here is probably what's going to be on the menu, as I've been kind of watching throughout practice and the qualifying here. It is a treacherous track.
Yeah, it's going to be treacherous all night long. By the way, I want to say, if you think this looks fun to be part of Premier Sim Racing, you can. If you're a returning member for Premier Sim Racing, signups are now open for the new season. That's going to kick off in just a couple weeks at Daytona. There'll be a preseason race, a Daytona Dash, if you will, at Daytona, of course, and it will kick off 1 week later for the Daytona Oval for a points-paying race. By the way, quick note of that schedule, Finn. I think it's week 3, NASCAR trucks at Long Beach. That's going to be pure chaos.
Oh, that absolutely will be, and I'm going to have to go back and watch that. It's going to be so good.
Yeah, it's going to be great fun to have. So in a minute, there'll be a QR code that's going to pop up on your screen. You see up on the top right of your screen, we're now seeing a very wet and damp Lime Rock Park. You can scan that QR code to get more information about Premier Sim Racing. You see announcements in their Discord, league info, sign up dates, and more, all through their Discord. Right now, qualifying about a minute from wrapping up. There's that QR code, by the way. So scan that on your phone, get into Discord, and find out all you want to know about Premier Sim Racing. Well, as qualifying wraps up right now, Elliott White, who had that points lead, is up on top of the board by almost, 0.3 of a second. The only person to put in a 101 here at Lime Rock. And I think, Finn, that's probably a good point to make here. This is a very, very fast racetrack. Even in the wet, it's a fast racetrack.
Yeah, it's a fast racetrack because a lot of the corners there only a little bit slower than what they would be taking in the dry in these Toyota GR86s. As we look at Jacob Dunn trying to get a second flyer, I think, done, and so get a little more track time at least as he's working his way around the track once more. So, but I think that'll be qualifying will end before that happens.
Right now, it looks like from our camera points that the rain is starting to let up a little bit. I know when practice opened about 20 minutes ago, it was a bit of a monsoon. You can see that on the track, and there's Dunn. 1, 2, yep, the third time he wiggles it. Finally brings it on around. Doesn't hit anything, though, so that's kind of impressive. But this rain's starting to lighten up here, and there's Ted Lowendick on track. So, Finn, if this rain does continue to lighten up here, I mean, we're going to do a heat race about 8 minutes long and then a 25-minute feature. Do you think we have enough time to form any kind of a line, or do you think that's just not long enough to do anything at Lime Rock?
We'll see how much rain, and I say this as the session takes over for grading up for the heat race. I get the feeling that it will be too wet.
Oh. Well, let's take a look real quick at the heat lineup here. Elliott White is up on top of Bradley Holly is in P2. Moving back here is Robert Barney P3. Steve Baker is in P4. back in P5, we're going to find Thomas Sink with Brandon Walter back in P6. P7 is Ted Lowendick, we saw on track a second ago, next to Jacob Dunn back in P8. And that is the grid for our first heat, Finn. So there will be multiple heats. No one goes home, by the way. It's important to say. And then we'll be ready to go. All right, well, Finn, here we are. Pace car is going to come off in a second. Elliott White's going to lead us around here. Even in the, well, we're going to do a full pace lap here, I should say. We'll walk through the track here. So let's talk about it for a second. Again, it's a pretty quick racetrack here. But in this wet, how petrified would you be of turn 1? By the way, it's a rolling start for these cars. Sorry, that just stood out to me. A bit of a squirrel moment there.
That's all right. It's rolling start, I think, is probably for the best. Gives them a little bit of a chance to try to get a feel for how wet the track has gotten in the changeover sessions. We saw a little bit of a drier patches forming in the qualifying after the rain had let up a little bit. Now the rain's back, and with it becomes more standing water on this track. You can see it as these cars are coming up and over kind of the hill there on No Name Straight. I get the feeling we'll be, I don't know, it's going to be treacherous in turn number 1, but I don't think it's an undoable if everybody keeps some cool heads and make sure that they adjust their braking marker for the rain, which I think they've been doing all throughout practice. But hopefully they keep that in their head as they get ready to go green here.
Well, let's find out through the downhill. Turn 7, the last corner is where we're going to be. The pace car is going to make that turn onto pit road, that right-hander in just a moment, and leave it in the hands of Elliott White. Happy here with us on Green Flag TV, Derrick, Watson, Finicini, as Elliott White waits for the green flag. Chaos about to begin at Lime Rock Park. So far, so good down the straight. This is not the scary part. The scary part's right here. Turn 1, the big bend as they call it, and all looks good, Finn.
All 8 getting through turn number 1. Pretty clean. It's not over yet as we get into the left-hander, turn number 3, as they all skirt on through. I saw a few cars run wide in the downhill, so interesting to see how they do that at pace at the end of this first lap. So far, they're keeping it all nice and tidy. A little bit of bumps with all that water and hydroplaning, but otherwise fine.
Here we go, up through No Name Straight, headed towards the uphill, known as turn 5. And right now, they've started the single file out for the top 3. Ooh. We're going to go up that uphill. I was wondering if anyone's going to catch some air today, but so far, no luck on that.
I think the rain is going to kill our hopes and dreams of watching those cars jump off of the No Name Straight. And we'll have to wait for another day to do that. But as they come down into the downhill, this is where I've seen a few cars run really wide on the exit here. But they seem to all kept it tidy so far. Lap number 1.
Lap number 1 complete. 8 minutes on the board is 8 minutes or 30 laps. So I think common math tells us that 8 laps will be the call for the first heat. And again, look at this single file line here. It's White, Holly, Barney, Baker, and Thomas Sink, your top 5. And then there'll be some gaps back through the field, I believe here. A couple cars having some problems. That's Thomas Sink, that white car in the back there, Finn. I'm not sure what happened to him, but he's now at the back of the field.
Yeah, I think he just ran a little wide there in the opening. Didn't get enough braking early on, and then the grass carried him wide. You'll see it here. A little wide on the entry. It catches the grass and just keeps on rolling out wide as the wet grass carries him away. Regains it before hitting anything serious, and he'll have time to try to make up the spots he lost there.
I think the more impressive parts, it didn't hit anything, which typically, hold on, speaking of hit anything, there's a car right there. Was that Matt Gagman? That's Robert Harding, pardon me, in the black and orange. I was going to say, though, it's impressive you get in a wet grass here and don't hit anything. That wet grass is, I mean, essentially like a hockey rink, which is pretty appropriate for, being up in Connecticut. But I'm surprised neither one of them hit anything.
I'm not as well. Like, thankfully, the grass seems a little bit more, has a little more traction to it than the before kind of the update. They also allowed gravel to hold a little bit more catch power and to do its job more effectively. Unfortunately, robbing us of one of the best Olympic sports, the Bathurst jump.
Oh, there's Brandon Walter off track.
Ooh. I think he got caught out. Similarly, we saw a lap before in turn number 1, as Thomas Sink had.
Yep, there's Walter. Just got it looped around and got it kind of slowed down and parked, and away he's going to go here. So we're already about almost getting close to halfway through this first heat, and Elliott White started on pole. And in fact, I had to look through this grid for the most part. everyone's kind of almost in the order they started up front. At the back of it, seen some changes with people maybe getting loose and losing a spot, but the top 3 or 4, I believe, are exactly how they qualified.
The top 2, I think, are the only 2 technically still in that position. Robert Barney and Steve Baker flipped positions as well, but otherwise, in the back half, I've seen Thomas Sink, Brandon Walter have their turn 1 incidents, send them back down the field, but otherwise, it's like pockets of drivers how they were at the beginning of this race, and then the obviously odd ones out making up the difference.
The Bradley Holly doing his best now, trying to stay in touch with Elliott White, trying to see if he can run him down and make a difference here in this race. And boy, no surprise if you're familiar with iRacing and the rain and how it works, that these corners and these curbings are just flooded. You can see those big pockets of wet space there, even without the drivers touching it. But you can see even more when a car goes across, there's these big pockets of wetness that just sort of splash up water. And that's sort of the challenge for Bradley Holly, is you don't want to get too close here, Finn, because you get too close to Elliott White and you get nothing more than just a windshield full of backsplash in your face.
Yeah, your windscreen just becomes all of the spray off the car in front of you. You lose the ability to kind of find your braking markers, and that I don't think was quite what happened, but both Brandon Holly and Steve Baker finding themselves drifting through turn number 1 as 2 of their tires clipped the grass. Robert Barney now right behind him, trying to see if he can make up any more time off of that incident that happened earlier.
By the way, of note, and there'll be a couple heats here, I do believe, but the top 10 drivers are going to invert for the feature. So Elliott White right now, by running up front, is going to put himself sort of at a disadvantage for the 25-minute race. So we'll keep an eye on that as that goes on. Here's what you saw a second ago. Coming down, leads us being out of the turn 1 here, a big bend, and it's a little wide. They both touched the grass right there, and I think it's fair to say Steve Baker had a harder time.
Yeah, Steve Baker, I think, caught a little bit more of the grass, saw all 4 wheels go off, where he only saw, I think there was 3 wheels there for Bradley Holly, So not a huge difference, but a little bit enough. Enough of one to where Steve Baker is now fighting with Robert Barney after Robert Barney had a similar incident a couple laps prior.
There's that view we talked about a second ago. There's Robert Barney with just a face full of rain. Those windshield wipers are just moving. Here's a pass attempt on the inside. Going to try to make it work here. This will be through turn 1 up to turn 2. Now turn 3 with the left-hander in a moment, and Robert Barney's made the pass.
Yeah, Steve Baker not, I think, learning enough of the lesson about where that braking marker needs to be for turn number 1.
Look out. Bradley
Holly, great catch there to keep that out of either another car or the wall there. We'll see him rejoin the track right behind Jacob Dunn.
Wow, went from second to the back of the field, back into P6, just like that. Holly will have thrown away his shot at catching it. Anyway, watch it here. See the hands on the wheel. Did he just hit a puddle, maybe?
I think so. I think just a little bit too much curbing there in the inside of turn 4 there. Sorry, inside of turn 3. And that's what caused the car to lose traction, and then it regained it, and that caused the oversteer that caused that spin we ended up seeing.
Just cross the start-finish line. That means likely 2 laps to go with 1 minute and 20-some seconds on the board here. This is 2nd, 3rd, and 4th on your screen. This is going to be Barney, Baker, and Lowendick fighting. There's Baker. He wants to get the pass back. Barney looped it around, and now Lowendick's on around. That's now top 3 as Barney has looped it for the 2nd time this race.
Yeah, that curbing on the inside seems to be doing a couple cars in. We saw the similar issue happen for Bradley a couple laps ago. Bradley Holly, a couple laps ago. I think we have more rain setting in.
Elliott White now has walked away here with a 6-second lead on this heat. So as we come around here, we'll take the white flags to come down here across the start-finish line. He's there right about now. The Sam Posey straight. And then here we'll go down into turn number 1 for the penultimate time for that car. And look at that. There's no one behind him. He gets to kind of slow it down. And as long as he just rides comfortably here, he'll be a Heat 1 winner.
Yeah, we have such a large gap between yourself and P2 with such a small amount of time on the track and the water all around it. It's more a race of survival. And if it's one you're doing consistently enough to build that gap, one you can easily kind of cash in on the last lap here to make sure that you end up in the lead at the end.
Meanwhile, back on the track, a couple of battles still trying to happen, but everyone's kind of separated out for the most part. This is second and third. This is Lowendick, the road course specialist. He's going to try to dig the inside of that corner. Not enough space. He'll back off, and he'll let Steve Baker keep P2. There's Thomas Sink off track one more time. Here is your leader. The question is now, will Lowendick dive Baker somewhere in these last couple corners, Finn?
I only have one more to go, so I don't think, unless one of them gets it wrong, or a great run out of the last corner for Lowendick, we won't see them change positions here.
Well, as we watch the battle for P2 finish, this heat is over. Elliott White is your winner in the first heat. It's going to be White, Baker, Lowendick. Your top three as they're going to go wrecking in the wall. Thereafter, a couple finishers in the back of the Mississippi Jets. Car coming back on through here. And that's going to wrap up heat number one. Brandon Walter, Thomas Sink's back there. Jacob Dunn was back there somewhere. And that'll wrap up your results. We'll take a quick look here at heat one results, and we'll walk away and check heat two in just a second. So White, Baker, Lowendick, Barney, your top four. Jacob Dunn, Bradley Holly, Brandon Walter, and Thomas Sink, your top eight. So I think that'd be interesting. That might put Jacob Dunn on the pole. By the way, let's see how many people are in heat number two. But that might put Dunn on the pole. Heat number two is Matt Gagnon in P1 with Mark Kalin, that very bright blue and pink car in P2. Richard Regan Jr. is in P3 with Daniel Knight in P4. P5 is Jeff Evans, and he's got Nicholas Godina next to him in P6. P7 is going to be Nicholas Acosta, and he's got Nick Hunter next to him in P8. And I think that is our complete field for heat number two. So Finn, right now we'll do the full pace lap, so we'll take a second and talk about it. Is there anything you could have learned as an observer in heat one that would help you at all in heat number two?
For heat number two, if you watched heat number one happen, really learning, seeing how much that where they braked for the first couple early laps, and saw those drivers skew out wide in turn number one. And a couple other spots, we saw the curbing end up being very deadly to the drivers when they try to take it for the insides of both turns 2 and 3. I get the feeling, or sorry, 3 and 4, a little bit to be learned there in terms of how, where to put the car to not have it spin on you or run out wide. But with those exceptions and just the race pace there, following that racing line, that would be the big benefits I could see for those drivers in heat two.
Hey, something different. Look at that radar. This heat, I'm not sure it's going to dry out at all. I'm not suggesting that. But this heat looks to be run in the dry. No rain coming down here. So maybe, not the windshield wipers distracting you. So maybe a small difference here. But I bet the heat, I bet the heat doesn't come back. I bet the rain comes back before the race starts. Well, let's find out here for the second time out at turn number 7. The pace car makes that infamous right-hand turn. It's Knight and others here going to lead us up through this group. Let's see what happens as it's Gagnon, Kalin, Regan, and more taking a green flag at Lime Rock Park. Well, second verse, same as the first, Finn. Everyone kind of being pretty patient. No big 3-wide moves like you might see at Lime Rock in the dry. Everyone's your 2x2 like the ants marching in up through out of turn number 2.
Yeah, the till too wide. Richard Regan trying to get around Mark Kalin to hold on to the lead, jump into the lead of that race. Matt Gagnon also going to drop behind Mark Kalin to kind of swap who was in first and who was in third off the grid. But otherwise, the rest of the cars all sorting themselves out throughout the first few turns. They get up into the no-name straight for the first time. It seems pretty smooth.
Seems a little bit smooth, doesn't it? Seems pretty nice. A couple cars off to the side, almost touching the grass, but everyone good so far. Regan's going to lead us out here through turn number 6. That's West Bend, coming down into turn number 7, purposely named the downhill. By the way, funny note here about P1 and P2, Richard Regan, Mark Kalin. They teamed up with Bradley Holly last weekend. They 3-manned a GTP prototype and won the Daytona 24 Hours on iRacing last weekend. So here they are from teammates last weekend to beat doors down the front straight here at Lime Rock.
Well, we talked about how smooth it was on the first lap, and then they had to go and make sure that they were, in fact, not as smooth when they were coming around to fight for the lead of this race. And as a result of that interaction there, along with Bradley Holly. That GTP team now becomes GTP enemies for a little while, or GR86 enemies, let me put it that way.
Yep. Jeff Evans turned around.
Oh, Jeff Evans as well as
Nicholas Gadina's turned around as well, so they'll fall back. Boy, talk about three-manning a Daytona 24-hour team, though. Like any 24-hour team, three-manning a roster is tough. That means you're basically doing 8 hours per driver in that car, and we do our best not to schedule them that way, but that's a long 24-hour weekend right there.
It certainly is. You'll see some synchronized swimming from those two drivers, both Gadina as well as Evans, just catching the inside of the right-hander turn number 4. Just the hydroplaning, that little bit of water there, enough to lose the grip on that front tire, which is what caused those cars to go around. And now,
wow, look at that.
The battle continues.
There, Mark Kalin almost took the lead on the outside. Oh, they're beating doors again. Matt Gagden's trying to avoid it. He's hoping that when this finally kicks off, that he gets to be the lucky, in the catbird seat, so to speak. Boy, they are just beating the doors off. Oh, no, they're 3 wide. Oh,
this
my
thing
God.
will end well.
They're 3 wide through turn 4 at Lime Rock.
Turn 3 wide now. They're going up to No Name Straight, and that's going to be a big old send from Matt Gagnon. Keeps that car going the right direction. Mark Kalin almost losing control of it as he touches a little bit of the grass. I think this was the end of the feature race with how these drivers are sending it as they get back into the downhill once more.
And then we're hearing now Nick Hunter may have spun in the back of the field, but right now oh my God, Richard Regan almost had to swerve hard to avoid the back end of Matt Gagnon. There's Nick Hunter spinning around. There is Matt Gagnon now spinning it around, and he will be out of that battle. Nice 360, grabbed a gear, but he'll fall back to at least P4.
Yeah. With the interaction and that pit turn there, definitely well caught out of Matt Gagnon to keep that car going in the right direction. We'll see how he fares in the feature as well.
We were playing old Project Gotham Racing. He got a bunch of style points for a 360 grabbing a gear, I think. Let's see what happens. He definitely
would have. You see just
interaction there. What happened to him.
Then,
that's his team boss right there, by the way.
Oh, man. Well, when you decide to trade paint, you can't be surprised if you end up overshooting the marker there.
Yeah, so, all right, well, back up front now. It's Mark Kalin up over by 1 second over Richard Regan Jr. Daniel Knight's back in P3. Happy to see him back in PSR action. And you'll see Matt Gagnon's back in P4. Matt has the fastest, no, he does not. Mark Kalin, I'm being told, has the fastest lap this run with 1:03.213. But again, this is a dry portion of this night here, Finn. So, again, only 8 cars on track. Not enough to dry this track out, I don't think. It's all about how long does this dry weather, want to stay around.
I think it's going to stick around at least for the heat. I get the feeling.
Oh, there's
Oh.
Mark Kalin. But I got it. You can't back it up there, Mark. You got lucky by not having him hit him, but now he'll fall back through. That'll give the lead to Regan Jr. What happened to
for a few cars here already. Once again, the right-hander claims that inside curbing, causing that loss of traction, causing the car to spin. And
there's
speaking
Regan.
Of car spinning, Richard Regan spinning at the West Bend, which is a little bit interesting. I think some aero damage might be causing a little more of these problems.
Is the lead cursed here?
We'll see how long Daniel Knight wants to hold on to it before he gives it away at this point.
Back to Matt Gagnon of all people.
Yeah.
We're right on board with Matt. He's going to send it deep into turn 1 to the inside. He's going to try to kind of bully his way through. And does he get by Daniel Knight out of turn 2? No, they'll be side by side. Knight will have the advantage into turn number 3.
Yeah, Knight will have the advantage. Matt looks like he's still trying to hang on and see what time he can make, but got to pick and choose the curbing you use carefully. They once again dive into 2 wide, coming up to No Name Straight. Big hole.
And there's Gagnon took the lead there of a risky move.
Gambled, and I think came out successfully, but we'll see for how long, because we've seen a couple of these corners bite pretty hard on these drivers that they use the curbing and then the runoff or the water that's sitting on the apex in the process.
Down to turn number 7. Here we go. We'll take 2 to go at the line. Matt Gadding, your current leader. You see Daniel Knight's trying to find a way around it. Maybe just trying to move a little bit, get out of that spray, get out of that tail. And now they'll be side by side into turn number 1. 2 laps to go. It's Gagnon, it's Knight at Lime Rock Park.
I gotta imagine, play the cards right here for Daniel Knight as the drafts very useful in these cars. We're only place to use it to start finish stretch. So I see,
My God.
good fast hands out of Matt Gagnon to keep the front end going the right direction. The rear end really wanted to step out on him, but he wrangled up before it could fully do so.
There's that curbing that's caused some problems. Gagnon flirted with it. He did not shy away from it.
Now I thought I was going to see Daniel Knight end up bounce off tire barriers there, but he knew exactly the amount of limit of grip he was looking for.
30 seconds on the board. They'll come down out of turn number 7. They'll take the white flag from Barney to Flagman. Will it be Gagnon? Will it be Knight? Will it be someone else in the back who kind of benefits? Who knows? Let's find out with the white flag in the air.
Bravest on the brakes.
Wow, I love how much aggressive Knight's being on the outside here, trying his best. He was trying to defend to see if he could stay side by side and have the advantage through these next couple corners, but it just didn't work out.
No, unfortunately, and it's really one of the only good passing unless you have a spin, much like Nicholas Godina.
Whoa!
Oh no, excuse me. Richard
That's
Regan.
that's Kalen and
Getting
Regan
spun. Yeah.
Yeah,
Richard
so much
Regan
for
getting spun by
GTB
it.
teammates. Apparently those Rolex watches are not worth much. I don't know.
That or no love is lost between them over the course of all of this, and this is just
Apparently
another
not.
good day of driving for them.
Yep. Well, down to turn number 7, penultimate time. Here we go. Matt Gagnon has the lead. Daniel Knight, a little bit of a bumper, I thought, from the back. He's going to try and make the move. They'll be side by side down the straight. Knight's trying to drag. Can he get it? Can he get it? It's going to be Gagnon at the line. Wow, that was close.
So close. 0.03 of a second between the two of them. Daniel Knight had a great run out of the final corner there to make that happen. Kalen.
The shame here. The shame is they fought for that, and they're going to be at the back of the feature.
Well, they get to fight for it all over again.
There you go. CCM driver's going to take this a little bit of a. I guess they have multiple cars this weekend with the way they're going through the grass and going to have some fun. Nick Hunter, I think the last of the cars here come around here in the wet. And during the feature, Finn, we'll talk. We have 25 minutes to talk about how tough this rain is. If you've never driven on it before, it's I know these guys are making it look simple, and that's kind of why you and I are having fun with it. But it is a chore to drive on these wet tracks.
It is always work to get the tracks to learn and understand how rain racing works. I believe that was Nicholas Acosta getting run into there by Hunter there.
All right, well, let's quickly take a look at our Heat 2 results. Matt Gagnon is your winner, as you said, by about 0.03 of a second over Daniel Knight. Mark Kalen's back in P3 with Regan Jr. and Jeff Evans, top P4, P5. Nicholas Acosta, Nicholas Godina, and Nick Hunter round out your top 8. So I believe that's going to put our grid right here. There is no warm-up. We're going to get right into it. Jeff Evans up on the pole from Heat 2. Jacob Dunn to the inside on P2. Richard Regan Jr. is in P3 with Robert Barney back in P4. Mark Kalen's in P5 with Ted Lowendick up in P6. P7's Daniel Knight with Steve Baker back in P8. P9 is Matt Gagnon and Finn. Elliott White is back in P10.
11th is going to be Bradley Holly, and 12th is going to be Nicholas Acosta for that row number 6. In 13th, Brandon Walter alongside Nicholas Godina, Thomas Sink, and Nicholas Hunter to round out the 16 starters of this feature race.
And guys, they're sitting still here. This might be a stand. No, okay. Okay. They were all sitting still for a second. I got nervous. We were going to just, throw the green light and say, have at it, boys. But okay, it's finally moving. Okay, sorry, I got scared for a second. I think that's going to be chaos if that happens. Well, listen, we're talking about tonight here at Lime Rock, but 2 weeks ago, we took the FIA cross cars out to the Phoenix Rallycross track to look at some of these amazing shots provided by Mr. Hedge. Fun was had all night long. Great racing, great fun, lots of airborne cars you'll see throughout the screenshots here before Elliott White ended up your winner. You know, sim racing is full of unforgettable moments, and Mr. Hedge iRacing Photography can help you capture them all. From your first wins to those fresh liveries to heck, even those moments you'll never forget. Mr. Hedge turns virtual racing into memories worth sharing. They're clean, they're sharp, and they're made for sim racers. Visit mrhedge.co.uk to get your best moments in focus. Fanboy, does that look fun to see in those screenshots?
It certainly does. Bro, the cross car seems like such a good entry point for to add to the road or dirt road roster of cars here, and I gotta imagine it was a blast how light and zippy those things are.
What doesn't look fun is that radar. We're about to get out of turn number 7. Look at all the orange and the red there. Right now we get ready for one more time with the pace car to take that right-hand turn. The last time tonight the pace car driver is done. And speaking of done, it's Jacob Dunn and Jeff Evans in the front row as the green flag is in the air. Well, Finn, here we are. More cars. A bit of a bump draft between Kalen and Regan down the front straight. Now I think we're about to be 3 wide in turn number 1.
I get the feeling we're either going to be 3 wide or we're going to have a daisy or domino effect. I almost said daisy chain, but that's not quite what I want. Domino effect for some of these drivers as Jacob Dunn finds himself kind of out on his own. Robert Barney there, I believe, flying around. Getting a little off kilter.
A couple of shots around the track here. The field's coming on through. And right now, Jacob Dunn's pulled up ahead here. There's Jeff Evans spun around. He got, I think, a bad bump from Richard Regan behind. And there might be some more calamity coming as we get up through these corners here.
Yeah, that's what it kind of looked like as we got through this. A couple others, thankfully, in better shape. I think that's our only driver that has found his way out of the pack so far.
Thomas Sink, by the way, did not make the grid here for this race. I'm not sure why, see if we can get word on that later. But right now we're minus a Thomas Sink, but we are full of racing action. Look at them side by side, out of turn number 7 to downhill, onto the Sam Posey straight here to complete yet another lap in this 25-minute feature at Lime Rock.
Yeah, Jacob Dunn having a fantastic first lap. While the rest of the field, well, I say that, and I almost spoke too soon. He catches it before it becomes too much of an issue. But his gap to Ted Lowendick has come to a close. And now him, as well as Robert Barney.
This is from Richard Regan's point of view, by the way. There's that bump to Jeff Evans, and he just, I don't know, it felt like an accordion move. I mean, I don't know how much Regan was into gas or how much Evans just wasn't moving, but that's what caused Evans to get on around here.
I definitely think it was a bit of column A, column B, a little bit of the road being wet, not helping, especially with how that car was in the apex. Saw all those factors come together and cause that car to go around.
By the way, Thomas Sink not in the race, had connection problems, fell out of the session due to connection problems. So possibly why Thomas Sink missed the start of this race.
It's unfortunate. It's always rough whenever you have connection issues, especially given the nature of this being an online sim. Always one that you always want to have it be smooth. I say,
wow, massive
cars.
Richard Regan got a door full of somebody there.
I believe that might have been
Steve Baker.
Yeah, that's what it looks like on my end. Red and black.
So it's interesting here this season. These tracks and these cars are a mystery till the day of. So that means no one got a chance, as we see Nicholas Cadena on around here. It means no one got a chance to paint these cars, Finn. That was part of the deal they made about having mystery cars. Is no one uses trading paints. No one paints anything. Don't stress about it. But as commentators, I kind of miss the paints.
Yeah, I do miss paints as well. Yeah, Robert Barney, much like we saw Nicholas Cadena earlier, just a self-spin, too much rotation. You kind of see the aftermath of it here as it's happening. As he tries to catch that car. We'll see him at the tail end of the pack alongside Jeff Evans and Nicholas Hunter. It is always sad to miss the paints, though.
Yeah, it's harder, and it just makes it seem like some of these guys that do their best to keep it obvious. Like, you know, Bradley Holly, Mark Cannon picks the wild paints, Richard Regan, the black and yellow. Some of these paints, I'm like, that's not your normal paint, sir. I don't know who you are when you're in these paints. It's kind of taking a guess here from memory of who Everybody is. But here we are about 4 minutes in, and so far I have to say I'm pretty impressed with the racing in the rain, Finn. When I heard this was going to be the format, and, we got the news a couple weeks ahead so we could prepare for it. I was really kind of concerned, like, would this be like a one-car hold on, never mind. Let's come back to that's leader in the wall. That's Jacob Dunn.
Yeah, Jacob Dunn, little loose, right on the uphill bump where that the ground kind of pulls up. You'll see it here. Right there, you see him catch it, try to keep it out of the wall, and then it just slides into it because of the rain.
That wall saved him.
It definitely did.
He'd have been off in the forest somewhere with the trees had that wall not been there.
He certainly would have. If this had been a rally stage where none of that would have been there, he would have been found a nice ditch to have to go get a tow truck once the stage was over. But for now, he's now dueling it out with Elliott White further in the field.
Yep, this will be the battle now for P6 and P7. Elliott White, of course, came in tonight, 12-point gap on the season points. So he'll hope to wrap that up here with a good solid finish. And as things move on here, behind White, that is going to be Walter Gagnon, Daniel Knight, Nicholas Acosta is back there in P11, Jeff Evans is back there in P12. So even on back to the field, there's just still a lot of side-by-side battles as now Cadena is all over the inside of Mark Kalin.
Yeah. Holly and Kalin are currently in a fight there. Elliott White looking for the return to the 2 wide with Jacob Dunn. Unwilling to let it go. Finally has to yield. Jacob Dunn trying to catch that car is going to give them a bit of a run as well, but otherwise it seems pretty nose to tail.
Right now, the road course specialist Ted Lowendick is starting to walk away with this race over a 1-second gap over Richard Regan Jr. That, of course, doesn't mean anything, though, Finn. We've seen in our 8-minute heats a couple times the leader gets a little sideways and they give up the lead. So we'll see if Lowendick can hold on to it for another 19 minutes. But, think about we're only about 2 more minutes away from kind of uncharted territory for these drivers. These drivers got to race pretty hard in the heats on 8-minute runs. So now we're getting to that point where they're not going to know how the tires behave, because this is kind of a new territory time-wise for them.
And depending on how they drive, we might see some synchronized swimming, as Richard Regan as well as Mark Kalin both have individual incidents, and that's going to cause a little bit of an accordion effect as these drivers now have to figure out why these cars are going slower through the no-name straight, and notably faster section.
We are almost 2x2. There's, oh boy, there's Regan the outside, there's Kalin the inside. So it's Caitlin inside. Bradley Holly's back there. Lots of stuff going on. Richard Regan's going to catch some grass, being told on the turn in. Kind of fishtailed it a little bit. And honestly, not what you want to have happen, but not the worst we've seen.
No, absolutely not. I would say we saw about out of that. And then Mark Kalin felt a sympathy need to do the same thing, which is why they're still with each other. But further, just behind them, this whole pack that we're looking at has not decided where they want to be or how they want to get there. As Brendan Walter catches a little bit of water there, and then had Jacob Dunn, I believe, push him a little bit further.
I'm impressed by how much these guys want to push, by the way. That if we would have had to have listings that was going to happen tonight, people, hold on, Regan might be around again, but I'm just saying, people pushing one another. Hold on.
Oh, that's
Holly and Kalin.
Yep. Probably Holly getting loose after trying to get around Richard Regan after he had that spin, which also saw Mark Kalin get a little loose.
Oh, by the way, Steve Baker's up in the lead over Ted Lowendick. Pardon me. That happened while we were watching their stuff. So lots going on around this track here. New fastest lap for Elliott White, by the way. Let's watch that pass with lead. Watch it here, Finn. This will be out of turn number 7, I believe, right here.
It'll be the west bend just for it. A little bit too much curb for Ted. We'll see him have to cede that position to Steve Baker. But he is not taking it lightly based on where they are with the live feed.
You're right. That was turn 6 in the 7 west bend, and then the downhill would have been the 2 corners there involved in that shot. But you're right. Lowendick's all over it. Heck, Elliott White is now up to P3. He's all over it. And these guys are just, I almost said these guys are loose. I thought, well, that's kind of obvious, Derrick. It's red surface. And if we see the radar in a second, the yellow colored dots and the darker colors are coming here quickly in the rain. So if these guys are in trouble now with how much it's raining, they're about to be really upset with how much rain is coming.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to get any better as we see Mark Kalin and Daniel Knight swap paint a little bit coming into the final corner here. And I get the feeling with that rain and how it's coming in, it's definitely going to be one that's not going to get any better from a driving perspective. We already got a pretty nice reflective surface there on the road as it is, and I think it's only going to get more wet and therefore less grippy as more intense rain comes down.
Now, being a 25-minute race, I think we'll ask the obvious in case we got some friends at home who are watching their friends or family or relatives in this car and don't know any better. In a 25-minute race, there's no point in changing tires, right?
No, especially not for the GR86s. It was kind of one of those things where you wish the track was different. You changed the track, not the tires.
That's true.
So therefore, you were able to change your tires. But given the way that this session both was, I think, loosely explained to me at least, definitely not one they were planning to see happen there. As we see the drag race between these three cars. Yeah, from Lowendick in the middle there. Elliott White not far behind as well.
Up top and top, a replay of Robert Barney. He just got a little loose right there, slides it around. And, I thought he had it. Nope. He got a little slick. Probably tried to overcorrect the wheel. Speaking of overcorrecting, live on screen, it's Ted Lowendick. That car's around. He'll give up P2, and he'll now fall back behind Elliott White and possibly to Richard Regan for P4.
It really depends on how No Name Straight goes for the two of them. Matt Gagnon also with a meatball there amongst all the kind of motion that we saw a moment ago.
And when you're Ted Lowendick in a moment like that, Finn, and you could talk about it as you do more road racing than I do. Let's first watch how it happens to Matt Gagnon.
It's a little sideways there, and then Daniel Knight there.
Hold up. Oh no, didn't get hit.
Yeah, well, the second impact there, which it didn't really show from that angle, was Daniel Knight pushing on the right rear, which is enough to cause that meatball flag. It has come around once more.
Yeah, see it again. Here's a better shot of it.
Just bam, right there into the right rear.
Of all things in iRacing, not the most aggressive contact I've seen cause a meatball or a damage required, but that's what happened there. But I was going to say, you're Ted Lowendick, Finn, and you can talk about this more as you do more road racing than I do. What happened to Lowendick there a second ago when he lost that car and gave up P2, it's defeating as a driver because if you're Lowendick, you've probably taken that corner 30, 40, 50 times, including practice tonight. You've probably done that same line every time. And now you're like, well, what's different? Like, I've done that. And you kind of have this mental conversation with yourself and your team. And so I've done that lap of what was different. And it's hard to, ration out in your head why this time was different.
It's hard because you can do that in the dry where you have one less factor of the rain. You're like, all right, well, did I over-rotate and didn't really realize it? Did I over-apply the throttle or not apply the throttle enough? And that's what caused that. But when you add in the rain, it's like, well, did the rain throw the calculation off that had been working fine for so long? And I need to change now. I didn't change, I didn't anticipate that change soon enough. It adds a whole layer of questions that is, I think, equally frustrating to have to, bring to the table of well, how did I spend this time? Was it, is it the skill issue of not handling the wet well enough, or did I just overcook it and I wasn't really paying that close of attention to the new, how much more wet the surface has become over the course of this race with the fact that it's consistently raining. It's frustrating for sure.
It is frustrating. Well, listen, if you're having a great time watching the race tonight as we're watching some of the onboard battles, I want to tell you, across Green Flag TV, it's about to get super busy. Over 20 leagues broadcasted per month when we're at full bore. And, listen to that engine whine. Was that Elliott White shifted in a way there? Was that maybe a wild downshift? That was a high-pitched rev here as he's going to get a run down the front straight, Finn. We'll talk about the schedule in a second, but what was that noise? Did you hear that as well?
I did as well. I'm almost curious if that was not the lap traffic of Nicholas Godina giving a little bit of a lift there in the higher gear before upshifting to allow those two drivers to get through. Or missing the shifts and not hitting the button fast enough and then trying to apply the power and then just getting the top end again.
Well, listen, if you're having fun tonight watching this, about 10 minutes from now, the Beer League is going to kick off at Winton Motor Speedway. Nolan Rimple and others are over there. And then Friday night, the Zero Torque Racing will be at the Pocono Raceway for their run in the NASCAR Cup cars. Saturday night, the NASCAR Trucks SRA kicks off the second race of their IEL Truck Series over at Echo Park Speedway. Sunday morning, Pace and GR86s, those same cars back on the channel. And then Monday night, we kick off a new era of Green Flag TV with the Collegiate iRacing League, now becoming home to coming to Green Flag TV, I should say. The Cup Series kicks off Monday night. They'll be at Charlotte. The High Tide Racing League is at Michigan. And then you know this well. You guys just did this yesterday. Aspire. It's a brand new league in the afternoons on Green Flag TV, an IMSA-style league. You guys will be at Motorland Uttergon next Tuesday.
It's going to be so good.
You guys had a great time at Daytona yesterday.
We certainly did. It was a very busy and very fun race. A lot of battling up and down the track for pretty much all of the GT3s. And then these beautiful pockets of GTP fighting cropped up. And it was, final lap style racing for a few laps for those two drivers whenever they came within a second of each other in the GTP classes.
So all that and more. If you want to find out more, please hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel and you'll be notified when we go live each and every time. More stuff next week. The CIL also brings across Indy cars next Thursday night to Green Flag TV and so much more happening. So we're happy you're here with us each and every night here on Green Flag TV. But right now we're less than 10 minutes to go and Steve Baker is under attack from Elliott White.
Yeah, these two have been within a second of each other pretty much the entire back half of this race ever since Ted Lowendick had a bit of a moment there. A couple of quick blink there out of Steve Baker, which is a little concerning. We've seen it a couple times, but the two of them playing it safe. I think Elliott White not wanting to end up having a car spawn within the Toyota GR86 that he's currently driving. Maybe aiding in that, but they're both 6 seconds ahead of Ted Lowendick, who still finds himself in third after that spin at the front end of the field.
And you got to think he's kind of hoping maybe he's in that right spot, right? He's hoping this battle kicks off here between White and Baker, making something happens. We've seen it happen all night long. Loose race cars, contact, what have you. Somehow maybe Lowendick's hoping from 3 seconds back he can inherit the lead here in the next about 8 or 9 minutes left in this race. Here we go again, down through turn 7. So I'm curious, Finn, from your perspective in these cars, of course, turn 1's the big bend. You know, the left-hander, the right-hander, uphill, all the corners here. Which one do you think scares you the most in the wet?
In the wet, I think the one that scares me the most is probably the one we've seen the handful of drivers kind of spin on most frequently, turns 3 and 4 here. And it's really just the curbing. I think being a little bit treacherous. If you only get on the curbing with those front tires, but not the rear tires, is what I think we've seen be kind of the inputs to cause that kind of oversteer spins we've been seeing in the wet here. That, if you wash out a little too much on that final corner before the no-name straight as well, we've seen a few cars bounce off the tire barrier there in various capacities. Such a high commitment corner. It's one that I think appears a little bit intimidating at first for these drivers, but once you get it down, it's not too bad, much like the first corner. But I'd have to say the ones that have the curbing that can catch you out if you only have some of your tires or only your front tires or your rear tires on that curbing. As Steve Baker goes way off the track there, and we'll see, I think, Elliott get the lead here.
Yeah, I was curious. Maybe you thought Steve Baker maybe even kind of barely scraped the wall there. So we'll see if that takes any additional time off of him. But that will give the lead to Elliott White. Remember, he came in tonight after a dominant performance in the FIA Cross Cars 2 weeks ago with that points lead. It was 12 points over Holly and Kalen, who are both towards the back of the field here. Watch this again, Finn, coming out of this corner. Baker's just getting really loose off this corner here.
It's one of those ones where if you don't take it close enough early enough, it'll get you. I didn't see him hit the wall there, though, so I think he'll be okay to keep up and get back into the fight with Elliott White and just have to try to figure out how to get his way back around in the final 7-ish minutes, a little under 7.
You see one notice there, Robert Barney's down pit road. I'm guessing that's going to be for some kind of damage. Remember to park the car. And so remember, these cars have long pit stops, by the way. No NASCAR or IMSA or IndyCar pit crews here. It feels like Uncle Joe's out there with just like the old jack and the one wheel at a time, and he's finally down pit road. Let's see how long this pit stop takes here. What he's going to do here. These are long pit stops in these 86s.
They certainly are. It's, I believe, 2 members over the wall at any given time in the GR86s, at least with how those cars are set up from my understanding. So those times there pretty long. We saw that in the production car challenge in a couple
The
months
worst name
ago.
ever. I hate that name.
Trust me, I also dislike that name. I think he has also decided to get out of the car, which means that our questions about how long that pit stop will be will remain unanswered.
There you go. Yeah, the production car challenge, by the way, it's an iRacing. It's basically the last iRacing special event of the year. Happens at VIR. Basically, that I think it's either the week before Christmas or the week between Christmas and New Year's, depending upon the year they're holding it. So, yeah, that's the silliest name. Listen, I'm from Ohio. We say the Ohio State University. Don't get me wrong, but the production car challenge. Yeah, it's still silly there too. You're right about that. All right, well, here we go. Richard Regan is here now in front of Mark Cannon. We've seen these guys make contact a few times tonight. Speaking of silly, I want to get silly here for P4 before this night is over.
I get the feeling we saw these two decide to trade paint the entire front stretch of lap number 1 into lap number 2 in the second heat race. So I get the feeling it'll probably be a little bit silly for P4 in the feature race.
Well, Mark Kalen's looking to dig deep in those corners, and he is not leaving any space unturned as those hands went sideways for a second. Typically when we cover PSR and we do the onboard shots with the webcam spin, I always say, watch a driver's hands and you'll tell what kind of night they're having. Watch a driver's hands in the wet and you'll see just how comfortable they are or are not in that car as somehow that worked out.
Yeah, and both of those drivers, smoother hands, keeping those cars going the right direction, but definitely one. I don't think Mark Kalen was predicting to have Rich Regan slide in front of him like that. Which I don't think that's the truth either for Steve Baker, who ends up trading paint into turn number 1.
Wow, this is live, by the way. This is for the lead. This is Baker. This is White. And Baker's not giving up. Baker's trying everything he can. And I'm kind of impressed, Finn, from what I recall from talking with Steve Baker throughout the season of PSR last year. He wasn't always the happiest when a road course was on the schedule. So, he's put some practice in, or he's just found some kind of luck with these wet conditions at Lime Rock. But watch this here. Mark Kalen's going to spin.
Yeah, we'll see this. Mark Kalen, first of these two, too deep into this corner. You'll see it. Oh, just way off into the grass. Bounces off the tire barrier. You see that front left just drooping forward. So I think that suspension has elected to leave that car.
I think if you wanted to sum it up in song right there, was it the Sum 41 song, In Too Deep? That might have been the song from Mark Kalen right there.
That, I think, at least for that moment, you could play the first line of the chorus, and then it would definitely be appropriate for Mark Kalen as these two, once again, diving into turn number 1.
Well, here we are, about 3 minutes left on the clock. It's White with just a small bit of a lead, about half a second over Steve Baker. Ted Lowendick's about 8 seconds back. He's just on for a Wednesday ride. It's a small joy ride in rain as much as you can here. And that rain has picked back up. Look at it falling on your screen. It is treacherous. It is now probably about the heaviest you're ever going to see it in iRacing. And I'd kind of gotten a forecast yesterday, Finn, that said it'll be light rain throughout the day and then it'll kind of end heavy. I don't know it ever stopped being heavy rain for the most part here across our night at Lime Rock Park. We had that one heat in the dry, but it's just been deep rain ever since.
Yes, it certainly has. I realized I was talking for about a solid 30 seconds, but my mic was off. So, yeah, definitely one thing where it looked light or looked heavy. It theoretically was light based on how iRacing does the math for rain, but it definitely didn't feel that way. And definitely feel like it hasn't gotten any lighter, like you said. And the fog almost seems to be rolling in now with how much rain is there. It should make for a spicy last couple of laps here at Lime Rock.
And I think the challenge is, even as well, we see a bit of a wiggle there out of Steve Baker, even for that one heat where it was dry, the sort of the quote-unquote bad news for these drivers is that there wasn't really enough cars on the track to do anything about it, right? Like if you take, for example, like a full IMSA field, Not too sure we do that here, but if you took a full IMSA field, maybe there could have been enough cars on track where you could have dried it off a little bit, during that dry spell. But that just never happened. Like only 6 cars on the track.
Yeah, definitely not a thing that will happen.
So we're going to now see a replay in a second of Daniel Knight. The key went off in turn number 1. Watch this here. Just a long straightaway, maybe kind of lost focus, and again, just
too deep.
Yep. And nice slide, nice save, nothing hit. A little bit of a bruised pride, and there we got it.
There he goes. He catches it.
This is the battle right here. Now down to what will be our, I think our white flag next time by. And this is the battle. This is White. This is Baker. We're riding on board with Steve Baker. You see the rain coming down. You see the splash from the car up ahead. You see both drivers doing everything they can. Oh, big splash in the windshield there. You see everything happening from both drivers to block every corner, every move, every bit of advantage here. White's just trying to hold on here for another lap or so.
Yeah, White's got generally equivocable and enough pace to hold out against Steve Baker throughout these last laps. He's able to keep a good run, especially if Steve Baker catches a little bit of the grass there like he just did and opens up that gap a little bit more. That does set him up for a decent run out of the final corner, though.
Here we are. They'll take the white flag barely. They're barely going to be under time here from Barney the Flagman. That 1 second on the clock, they'll cross the line for the final time. White flag is out. Will something happen here? Will White slip up? Will Baker find a gap? Let's find out with 1 to go. So far, so good for Elliott White's going to come on through the corners here, and is doing a great job of keeping Steve Baker on behind him.
Yeah, having a fantastic job. Really, both of them staying clear of the curbing. You kind of see it there in those corners. We saw how treacherous it was for some of these drivers, and now they're choosing to not utilize those with how much water is sitting on this track at this point. Coming up to no name, and here's going to be the one opportunity, I think, if the draft was going to go in the way of Steve Baker for West Bend.
Well, here we are now turning up through, as you said, through West Bend. They're going to possibly catch P12 car. Hold on.
Wall.
That's going to end it right there for Steve Baker. Elliott White's going to come out of the final turn one final time. He'll come inside the points lead. He'll leave with the points lead. He is the winner, and your Winter Series champion is Elliott White. Now back on through the field, this is Richard Regan. He's trying to hold on to P3. He's in a battle with Lowendick. Lowendick with a beautiful move to the inside.
Yeah, Lowendick had a spin earlier on, which is how they ended up in a fight with each other. But now it's a drag race down to the finish line once again. Richard Regan, I think, going to pull out just ahead of him. The two of them just keep bouncing, trading paint. And Richard Regan's going to win by 100th.
Wow.
Oh, sorry, excuse me, 6,000
thousandths of a second. Last couple cars going to come down through the field here, and what's going to be a very wet, soggy, treacherous night for some drivers. In fact, it's not over. There's a There's a great color. That might be Jacob Dunn right there, who's still having a hard time. He went from leading the beginning of this heat to not finishing quite as well.
Well, had a few spins, ran into some walls along the way, which I think is how this car got as bruised as it did. But he does limp it home in P10 before it finally bucks him off that ride.
Wow. What a fun night. I wasn't sure what to expect when I heard these conditions. I wasn't sure what kind of calamity it might cause, but overall, Finn, a pretty solid night of racing action.
Hi, man. It was a pretty fantastic ride. Thomas Sink, driver we saw start from pit lane, essentially, due to a connection error, will come home in 12th. And I would say a pretty fantastic run for all these drivers, and a fun one it looked like at that.
A fun one indeed. Elliott White is your winner. He beat Steve Baker by 1.3 seconds after that slip up at the very end. Richard Regan, as you see there, barely ekes out P3 over Ted Lowendick. Jeff Evans back in P5. Daniel Knight's in P6. Nicholas Acosta, is up in P7. Brandon Walters in P8. Nicholas Hunter and Jacob Dunn round out your top 10. A couple last cars here. Gadina, Sink, Kaylin, Holly, Barney, and Matt Gagnon round out your 16 drivers. Oh, boy, we can stop and breathe. That was a busy 25 minutes of just pure racing action. And Finn, I think overall, possibly the most consistent racing action we've seen across all the Winter Series races. But the man who walked away yet again this week with the victories, Elliott White. Elliott, you're now at least a 2-time winner in the Winter Series for PSR. How does that feel?
It's fun. It's nice to hop in random cars and be competitive.
I feel like we found your calling. I feel like we found your calling in this random car, random track, and you might be okay with it.
Yeah, I enjoy it a lot. I mean, it reminds me a little bit of the VCO Infinity event. I don't know if you guys know that, but just random car track combos, and it's fun doing those kind of things with not much practice.
So before tonight, how much? Well, 2 questions. A, how much rain practice had you had across iRacing, and how much practice had you had with these cars at this track?
Well, for the first question, I had really avoided rain a lot because it was frustrating to me until I had to run a lot of it in Bathurst last year and for the special event. That helped. Yeah, that helped a lot. So that's the extent of my rain stuff. And then I've never driven the GR86 before today, but I mean, it drives. I mean, I drive a decent amount of like sports car road stuff, and so it's not too far off.
So throughout the main feature, we saw you really going back and forth with Steve Baker and the other drivers. How much fun was that to have that kind of competition out here in the wet? And how scary was it at times?
Oh yeah, well, I got lucky that I was able to get by Brad and all these guys pretty quickly, because as the groove got more rainy, it was really hard to make a pass, especially on Steve. So I got lucky that he ended up making one mistake, and then I mean he was on me for the end, and I was kind of sweating a lot there. But yeah, no, rain's fun. It's just once the groove gets really slim, it's hard to actually kind of race, to be honest. But
well, listen, congrats tonight on the win. I'm pretty positive on the season win as well with the points. We'll get that confirmed in a little bit here. But anyone you want to say hello to or give a shout out to?
I guess shout out all the guys at PSR once again, the coordinators and people that run it. Obviously, Richard, Brad, Mark, Jeff, all those guys. I appreciate what they do, and thanks to the guys at Solpec. I'm kind of stuck around racing more than I might have just because of Solpec and the team there. So I appreciate them, and thank you guys for the broadcast as well.
Thank you as well. That's Elliott White. Well, I don't know. Are we going to see you in a few weeks when the new season kicks off?
Yeah, I hope so. I think so. Right. If my school schedule allows it, I think so.
Fair enough. Well, then we will see you at Daytona.
Thank you. See you guys there.
All right. That is Elliott White, and now I believe Finn has caught up with P3's Richard Regan Jr.
Richard Regan, congrats on the P3. 0.006 of a second, I believe, takes you up ahead of Ted Lowendick. How was that final lap and finding yourself back into the podium positions?
Yeah, definitely got a little lucky there that Ted got loose going up the hill. I did that probably like 15 times in the race, so it was nice to see somebody else do it in front of me, and then me and him race pretty hard coming to the line. And yeah, it's fun, man. You know, this is a fun series for us, so a lot of guys like to race more aggressive and just not take things as seriously, but still try to put on a great show for you guys. And I hope everybody tuning in enjoyed the finish.
I think they certainly did, at least for that one, as well as the amount of times I saw you trade paints, I believe, with Mark there over the course of the race. When it's always such a polarizing thing, I feel like, for drivers on iRacing. Are you a fan or not a fan?
Yeah, so this is my only the second time I've driven in the wet on iRacing, and the other car that I've driven is the Ferrari GTP at Le Mans last year, and I enjoyed that a lot, actually. But in the 86, I definitely did not like it. It was a little weird. I think just because I don't really have any experience in the 86, and we had a lot of rain on the track tonight, so definitely made things interesting. Though I'm glad it was a rain race.
Looking forward to next season. I believe we're starting out at Daytona, if I was not mistaken. And what I heard earlier, are you looking forward to getting back into the trucks as well as oval racing in proper?
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to getting back in the trucks. iRacing gave us a new aero model, so got to start getting some practice laps in with that and doing some testing with the Regenboog Motorsports guys. Premier Sim Racing does their Daytona duels on February 4th. So make sure that anyone that's interested tunes in to Green Flag TV February 4th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern to check out our duels, and then we'll be starting round 1, technically the first points race on the 11th the following week, and then start rolling into our season. So definitely looking forward to getting back into the normal swing of things.
Fantastic stuff. Any other shout-outs, moments we missed that you want to talk about, or anything else?
Just everybody that's participated in the Winter Series. Trying to give back to the guys a little bit for staying loyal to us for our first year. Like to give a shout out to everybody that helps manage the league. The league got put together on a short notice earlier last year, and I'm very happy with how we've done in our first year, and I'm looking forward to our second year being even better. And everybody that helps support the Truck Series, all the sponsors we got, and everybody at Green Flag TV.
Fantastic stuff. Well, we'll let you get back to celebrating your P3 there. And good luck soon. We'll hope to see you back here soon when we get to Daytona.
Thank you.
Alrighty, and that was Rich Regan Jr., who comes home P3 tonight by 6,000ths of a second.
And you know what? Since Steve Baker's unavailable for P2, let's grab the driver who lost by 6,000ths of a second, Ted Lowendick. How big is the insurance claim on that GR86 you're going to turn in tomorrow for you and Richard beating down the fronts right there?
Absolutely nothing, because I can just hit reset and I get a new one. So it's all
wow. I think it's a rental. I paid for the insurance. I just rented it for the weekend.
It's a yearly subscription. It's fine.
Yeah. So how much fun was that?
So I had 0 practice. I've got a quarter season ticket plan to the Blue Jackets. I've been a member for about 10 years now, and they had a season ticket holder event, and I got home with 5 minutes to go. Got into the session, and there was a minute left in qualifying. I think I got through half the track. But not knowing anything, it was a good time. I would prefer it not be raining, though. I think welcoming the dry weather from turning left again.
Yeah, good news. So I say good news when we get back to the ovals. No weather.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Real quick, I could ask you. So week 3 of PSR. I don't know if you saw the schedule yet. I believe it's week 3. Long Beach and the trucks.
I'm looking
Does that
forward
sound
to
as
it.
scary to you? It does to me.
No, that's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be. It should be similar to what we saw at the Chicago Street Course, with the walls being as close. Obviously, there's a couple more technical spots that could be mega death for the field.
The fountain.
But the fountain, also the way the race will probably start is half the field's going to still be coming around the final corner, so that's going to be interesting. But yeah, the fountain's like, if one person messes it up, it's going to be a parking lot, and yeah, it's just going to be important to qualify well there. But yeah, I think I'm looking forward to that one. There's a couple of weeks where we don't have a track yet, so we'll see what fills into those spots. But yeah, it's going to be nice turning left again, getting back to a little bit of normalcy, and yeah, having a good time on Wednesday nights again.
All right, buddy. Well, listen, it's always a pleasure talking to you. I'm sure we'll talk soon. Enjoy your evening, and we'll see you at Daytona.
Thanks, you guys as well.
All right, that is Ted Lowendick finishing P4. And on your screen, Finn, we see the Season 1 schedule. A couple holes left to be filled, but the big things to note here, 2/11, February 11th, your kickoff, a Crown Jewel race. New this year for PSR, Crown Jewels, an extra 10 minutes on the clock, an 85-minute race at Daytona. Then Echo Park, Long Beach, Phoenix, and Darlington kick off the season. We'll be at Rockingham. We'll be at Bristol in the first season. But this is a fun schedule, Finn. So February 4th, right now, all returning members can sign up for this season for Premier Sim Racing with the Outlap Motorsports Truck Series. Scan that QR code. If you're new here, soon registration will open for new drivers for Premier Sim Racing as well. So Finn, it has been an amazing night. Any last thoughts on the race here?
It was, when you told me about how this was, I was like, I'm not quite sure how cool this is going to be. It was definitely one to mark down as like, this is a fun way to do rain racing, and I'm excited to see more leagues utilize rain, hopefully in the future. Yeah, and correctly, which is always such a hard thing to do, because I don't think even iRacing gets it right sometimes. So, be more fun. So this is a blast.
Well, stay tuned. After this, we're going to take you over to the Beer League. They have the vehicles out there at Winton Motor Speedway. A first for Green Flag TV, by the way, to be at Winton Motor Speedway. So you're going to head right over there after this broadcast. Want to say, first off, congrats to Elliott White. He is your winner tonight and your season champion here for the PSR Winter Series. If you missed this race, you can catch this race and every race from Premier Sim Racing here on the Green Flag TV YouTube channel. For Finicini, for my producer Dustin Ollis, I am Derrick Watson saying so long and good night from Connecticut.